Welcome back to Morning Live. We're in conversation with our Deputy Finance Minister, Buthelezi, talking about SAA. Deputy Minister, once again, thank you very, very much for staying with us here on the program. I think what's important is to talk about what emerged yesterday, and this is the document that was unveiled at Parliament yesterday, showing that that there would be a government stake within Telkom that will be sold, and this would then be used to bail out SAA once again. And we're talking money to the tune of 10 billion rand. Can you give us clarity on that?
Yeah, Leanne, before we come to that, before we got cut, I think one other thing that I really needed to raise on the issue that you were talking about is that one of the critical things that Ms. Mien has raised is the question of transformation or lack thereof at SAA. You can't have a national asset where about 24 billion, there's 24 billion rand which is spent on goods and services, and the majority of South Africans, the black people of this country, only are having 4% of that. I think we know about that because that chairperson has told us about it. And people always talk about financial sustainability, which is very important. But financial sustainability and transformation, those two things are not mutually exclusive. So I just thought, let me mention that one. Let me come back to what you are talking about, the document that we saw in Parliament. Leanne, that document was marked secret. And let's deal with that document as secret. I'm sure there are many reasons that make that document secret. Amongst other things is that there may be very market-sensitive issues, and there are no decisions around those things. And then we start discussing it, and then they start affecting the market. We have presented a number of documents to Cabinet, right, and which were secret. And there have been a lot of toing and froing, trying to resolve the problem of SAA. So I don't think that we should really start talking about that document. And the Deputy President was very clear in the question and answer session in Parliament that document will remain secret. Yeah. Let's not encourage our children to have access on documents which they're not supposed to have, and then they start being public documents. I think let's respect that.
I hear what you're saying, but I think it's very important because it may be secret, but the reality is that this is taxpayers' money that you're talking about, and it's money that's taken from an entity like Telkom that is a profitable entity, that is doing well, to fund something that seems to be a money pit, that just you keep throwing money at it and nothing seems to turn around at this airline. And the reality is the rationale between taking from something that is working and put it into something that isn't working. I mean, I think as the public, we should be privy to this.
Leanne, the Deputy President was very clear on this matter. He says at the right time that will be discussed in Parliament if that's the route that we are going. As things are now, these are secret documents which are being discussed by the Cabinet. So there is none of us, nobody is allowed to go and talk about that document. Then let's go back about one thing that I said I'm very happy to discuss, the question of recapitalization, because that's the problem that we are dealing with here. The former Minister of Finance at the beginning of the year, in his budget speech, he did say that South African Airways must be recapitalized, and that should be budgeted for. So that's what we must discuss. The question of Telkom, I'm not going to discuss it because, as I'm saying that, as a member of that Parliament, as part of the executive, we must respect that. But the question of the need, and I tried to say to you, where does that come from? That you have got a very, very weak balance sheet, right? And this is a very important national asset, by the way, the South African Airways. There are about 10,200 workers who are dependent on that company. There are people who have been going around and saying that the South African Airways must be privatized. They make privatization as if it's a panacea. There are a lot of private companies which are going under as we are talking. But in the early 2000s, South African Airways was partially privatized. Swiss Air bought a stake in South African Airways. But you know what happened, Leanne? Swiss Air went under, and the South African government was forced to buy back its stake. So this privatization thing, which is being flighted as something which is going to solve all our problems, is not true, is not backed by scientific facts.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's try and swiftly move on here. And I want to go back to Telkom. I'm not going to ask you about secret documents, but I'm going to ask you about something that is real. We look at a relationship with Telkom and we look at how they partner with private entities and they manage to become a profitable business. It's something that government should be proud of. We look at other airlines that also partner with different airlines. I mean, surely there's another way of saving this airline. I mean, if we have to look at how much government has given to SAA, we talk about 20 billion rand in 15 years. You could have built over 200,000 houses. We're looking now at giving them another 10 billion rand, which again could be used to fund 130,000 RDP houses in a country that we have 55% poverty in. What I'm saying, Deputy Minister, is we are not prioritizing the problems in this country, and we're desperate to hold on to an asset that is not an asset.
Leanne, I don't know where the 20 billion rand which has been given to SAA comes from.
I'm talking over 15 years. 15 years.
No. Let me tell you what it is. What has happened is that the government has given guarantees to SAA, by and large. Those guarantees means that SAA had to go out and raise debt from the market, and it's one of the things which have weakened the balance sheet of South African Airways. So this thing of I've heard this thing that money has been thrown into SAA. It has not. I think the 20 billion rand is an exaggerated figure. What has happened is that the government over the years has guaranteed the debt of South African Airways, and I think we need to differentiate between those two things.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right.
But as I'm saying, my apologies, but as I'm saying that the role that South African Airways plays in the economy of South Africa, as I'm saying that as we're talking, 10,200 jobs are provided by South African Airways, and if you like, that will be about 30,000 people. We can't allow a situation. What happens usually? I'm coming from that space in the private sector. The first culprits of any cost-cutting exercise is the workers. And the South African government is saying that's not going to happen under these circumstances. Because on a micro level, that works, because you're just looking at this company. Once you start retrenching people going out, they become the responsibility of the state at the end of the day. They become the responsibility of the same taxpayers that you are referring to.
You know, the reality is that it has been mentioned before, and it was mentioned by the former finance minister, Pravin Gordhan. We know that he said at the time that if these state-owned enterprises are not being profitable and they are not showing money, that we will look at other alternatives. I'm not sure how much longer. And you talk about the staff at SAA. They're at risk now of not being paid. Why are we not looking at other ideas to try and partner? Why not partner with another airline? Why not partner with Ethiopian Airlines, an airline on the African continent that perhaps is voted one of the best airlines, if not the best airline on the continent? Why can we not look at other ideas?
Leanne, I agree with you 100%. That's why I'm saying too, there are so many options which have been put before the cabinet that we're looking at. And the cabinet hasn't decided on any of those. Ne? That's one of the things that we're looking at. There are airlines that we're looking at. There are other governments that we're looking at. There are other state-owned companies that have shown some interest in South African Airways. So I'm then saying that let's not start speculating as to which direction we're taking just because there's a document which leaked and somebody has his hands on it. And then we start saying that is Telkom. No, we're not. For instance, there are even other suggestions that we can use some of these assets to guarantee the debt that we may want to raise so that we are able to fund South African Airways. So I'm saying that there are a plethora of options that we are looking at the moment. So we're not wedded to any of those options yet until the cabinet decide on a preferred and what we'll consider to be an optimal solution to deal with a number of other problems that face the airline.
Yeah. Deputy Minister, finally, very quickly, why is it that SAA is under Treasury, that it's different to other SOEs?
Come again?
Why is it that SAA sits under Treasury and not with the other SOEs?
There is also the land bank under Treasury with not other SOEs. So I don't know what happened before we came there. But I'm sure the government, there are a number of factors that they considered at that time to put it under South African Airways. I don't think I'm qualified to talk about that. I don't know.
All right. Let's
but the
leave it
fact
there.
of the matter is that it's at National Treasury now, and we must deal with it. By the way, even if it's under any other department, as you can see that there's funding is needed, National Treasury will still play a very important role.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there for this morning. The Deputy Finance Minister, Buthelezi, thank you very, very much for joining us here on Morning Live. Lots discussed there. I know you've been tweeting us. We'll try and get to those. Let's take a very quick break.
Thank you so much.